Well, hello there, YouTube. My name is Tony, and this is TonyLiveTV. This is video 4 of the Instrument Cluster Restoration playlist. So make sure you see the previous ones. That'll tell you how to take out the steering wheel, how to remove the cluster, how to completely tear it down, all the bulbs and all that kind of stuff. This is dealing strictly with the odometer and trip meter because that's not working. And it's a common thing. As a matter of fact, there's plenty of videos out there showing you this. There are BMW, it's a VDO gauge. The next video in this series is going to be addressing the tachometer problem. We're going to test all the electrical, and also deal with the clock and replace some capacitors in that, as well as replace the capacitor in the tach. So that's in a future video. And then of course the assembly, the testing, and actually getting out there and road testing it to make sure that everything goes. Now, if that isn't enough for you to subscribe to my channel, how about looking behind the cluster? Behind the cluster, there's a lot going on as well. You should be looking at those actuator pods or vacuum actuators, whatever you want to call them. That will be an upcoming video. And then if you look inside there's an expansion valve that's deep in your dash. I'll be removing that as well and replacing the AC line, all of that for a future video. So that should give you a reason to go right now and click that subscribe button, because I know you're not subscribed yet. And if you have, thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. Speaking of saying thank you, I always forget things. When I get behind this video camera right now, or I get over there and I start working on the vehicle, I forget everything. I just concentrate on trying to deliver the best video that I can and provide as much detail as I can in my videos. And then I forget the most important thing, and that is to say thank you guys for not only subscribing, but there's quite a few of you that have been supporting me. And as a matter of fact, what you have, by supporting this channel, it allows me to do things that a normal guy wouldn't do. I purchased 4 sets of gears before I decided what gear I would buy, right? You can buy them from $6 to $65. So what gear would I buy? The only way to tell is by buying all of them. Now I have to be honest, I did not purchase a $65 one. There's plenty of guys out there that spent the money and purchased a $65 one, and I took some detailed pictures and all that. And when they took pictures, I looked at them and I blew them up and I saw just exactly what I thought I was gonna see. Anyways, I think you're going to enjoy this video, and I really got to stop mumbling. But again, thanks for supporting me. It's greatly appreciated. And let's get this video going. So this is my speedometer and my odometer and my trip meter. And that's the culprit right there. Do you see that gear? If you guys remember, in a previous video on my very first drive in this vehicle, when I pulled it out to the driveway, I hit the trip meter, it reset it. You can see it went to 0, but you see how many teeth got stripped when I pushed that button. And it also prevented my odometer from working as well. So there you are, up to date. That's what it looks like. The teeth look like they're there. Pretty much I think the teeth are on the other gear as well, but that little 12-tooth gear down there is definitely not right. Also, that is a grounding strap. That's the strap actually that jumps from one side of the cluster to the other side of the cluster, is using this grounding strap. And then there's 2 bolts, right, that hold this thing in. So we're going to address this, clean this up, and then you can put a little star type washers on here, and that will really pretty much take care of it, even without a secondary ground. And then I'm looking at these gears up here at the top. Nothing wrong with those. Just that one that I see. Of course, if I just take it apart, right, I'll see it better. To take this off, there's just 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like everything's in 4s on this cluster. And now it should just lift right up. Oh boy. There's that grounding strip, right? These are those star washer type things I was talking about, you know, with the teeth on it. So when you put that together, if you get the right size, this is a little bit too big, but get the right size, it'll dig into this and really help that grounding issue. Now, I got to remove this cover. To do that, there's just 2 screws. There's one here, and then the one over there. And now I believe that that cover will just come off. There it is. You can see it comes right off. So that's hard, actually. That is actually hard, whatever that is. Well, let's see if I can remove that and not be in your way. Not sure about that, but I got that one out. Now that one on the bottom there, it too is coming out. Yeah, so's all the gears behind it. You'll see in a minute, and the pin. All right, there's the pin, those guys, and this one. All right, let's remove this one here. Keep note of how it went in. So it's got an inner gear and then that outer gear. So the inner gear goes in. Now we've got this one. That little gear right there is the one that just crumbles. As you can see. And we need to get this thing off. One way to get it off is to pinch it with some good cutters. That is a brass tooth pin. See how it kind of breaks up? I don't know if you can tell. You can see how that thing's already I kind of got it broke right there, you know? And really that's all you got to do, see? Just use some nice side cutters and you can break that up pretty easily. It's just breaking right apart. And then eventually you'll get it. Just like that. That's the rest of that. After I snipped everything off, the next thing was really just to disassemble this and then clean everything with isopropyl alcohol. You notice I'm wearing gloves because at this point you should be wearing gloves. You don't want to contaminate them. So this here is 3 different vendors. I purchased off eBay and I purchased off of Amazon. And these are all pretty much identical and they're very sloppily made. These are the ones that I ended up using. And I did purchase these also on eBay. But look how crisp and sharp the edges are. There's no burrs. Everything is, it's almost as if it's machined compared to those other ones. This is exactly what you want. I'll have a link down below. Here's the information. Those are the ones that I purchased. Yes, BMW uses the same VDO gauge, or gears at least. And now I want to reassemble. And as I said, I'm using gloves. So starting with this one right here, you notice the gear that I have. This pin needs to go in. So that's number 1. There's that pin. Next is the gear itself. There is that side, and then we have that side. So it goes in this way. There's that one. Next is this, the one that came out of the top up there. So the first thing is the pin, and then the gear. You remember when I said the inside gear goes inside? So flip it that way, just like this. You want to turn the gears every time you put something in. Everything's looking good. So now this 16-tooth one, which is what mine is, yours could be different. So that's why you have to disassemble this before you actually do it. But that will go down here on this bottom one here. There we go. Move your gears, make sure they work. Next would be this 12-tooth one. See how nice the edges and everything are on that? It's very well made. And that goes right here. Move your gears, make sure everything's working. Now the hardest one actually is this little 12-tooth one. You need to put it on, but don't slide it on too far, and it's going to be tough to put on because we're not using that little brass thing. This little 12-tooth gear was not too difficult to get in there, but you would have only seen a thumb. So now I want to turn these gears and see what happens internally. See it? There you go. Well, now that I've verified all that, I'll put my cover on. So it's pretty straightforward, right? Just the same way we took it off, just like that. And we have the little screws. And that's what it looks like when she's complete. You see how nice the mesh is on that gear? I would say these are really well-made gears and worth the less than $20 that I paid for it. Before I put the cover on, you might be asking, Tony, why didn't you grease that gear? Some people say you should grease that gear. Well, I have my feelings about grease and gears, especially gears that are open to the outside air. That gear, there's nothing covering that. This is an empty cover. It's going to sit inside the cluster. You remember how dirty your dial was? Well, I think if you lubricate it, then it's going to attract the dirt and actually prematurely wear your gears. If you noticed internally, those gears were completely dry when I took it apart. And these were the ones that were all mush, and they were the ones that were lubricated. So I say, personally, I say don't do it, but you know, if your manufacturer says to do it, then do it. But this manufacturer says do not lubricate the gears. And so I agree with that, and I'm not going to lubricate it. They also tell you about that 12-tooth gear and how you push it onto the shaft and leave about a ½ millimeter or so between that and the back of the shaft. You remember that? Remember how if you push on that thing, right, it will go in and out. See that? So you have to make sure that when you put this in, and this is all the way back, that gear does not hit the back of the case. And also when it comes all the way out, you don't want it to be too far out, right? You want those gears to line up. So that's how I did it. And I've tightened everything. I also hit this trip bar and reset it, did it a couple of times, made sure that all worked. You want to make sure there's no rust or moisture or anything inside of this, then that means that's bad. You'll have to remove this. This is where that motor is for the shaft. See that? So that's got to move freely. And then we come back around. Now on this, I went ahead and you can see I've scratched that all up on both sides. You don't really need to do both sides. You just need to do it on this side here. Then I'm going to use the star washer when I actually install it in the cluster. Stick around, you guys, because that's a separate video. This video is only dealing with those odometer gears, you know, putting it all together and taking it all apart. I took this to the sink, actually, and washed it all with some mild soap and water, warm water, and then I blew it out. Make sure your rubber buffers are all on there. There we go. I'm tightening it in a crisscross pattern. I just went ahead and I just cleaned this with some mild soap and a microfiber towel. I'm not going to paint anything. I want it to look like a 1987 560 SL. That's what I want it to look like. Again, those are the instructions. Don't lubricate. If you do lubricate, you know, I know it says something about using axle grease or something. I don't know about that with plastics, and I would say a silicone-based grease would be smarter. A dielectric grease is compatible with all plastics. That's what I would use if you feel compelled to do so. You will definitely use it on this, on each of these tabs right here, and that's where you're going to put that star washer. So when you bolt this thing down with the 2 bolts, or 4 bolts actually, then that will help that connection. Trust me, a little bit of this will keep it from corroding, and those little stars will dig into this thing, and I guarantee you're not going to have a problem with gauges jumping around because of a ground. And speaking of a ground, I also cleaned these terminals using some emery cloth, and then I would use some of that dielectric grease when I put it back together. So this is what came out, and this is what it looks like now. I think it looks pretty good. What do you guys think? Right? How about a big thumbs up? This job is now complete. Now to see it in action though, you're going to have to wait until this series is over, because the next video that we're going to be doing, working on the tack and clock. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up this video. I don't know how much more I can dive into this thing, right? I don't want to dive into it any deeper. Like I said, if you guys want to see how this all works, stay tuned for the final of this series when I put this whole cluster and everything back in and we take it for a test drive. Until the next time, thanks again for watching.